Once upon a time, a child saved the world of fairy tales. His reward was a wish. The one who plots in the shadows saw an opportunity to tarnish the child's heart, whispering words of corruption to him. The child asked the king of fairy tales to grant the villains, accursed for centuries, a new life. This was to be their chance for redemption. This was how the villains became good. But any light needs a shadow, and in turn, the heroes became evil. At that moment, all fairy tales were shattered.
James will wake up. Well, he will go have a bath. So now it's somebody else's problem. I did my scene.
Okay. Then Baba Yaga is going to go down and talk to the tavern keep if they are available.
There is a roughly middle-aged woman standing behind the bar. She is looking rather concerned.
Is there something bothering you?
What's that, miss?
You looked a bit concerned.
Well, I suppose I ought to tell you anyway, seeing as the Baron said we should share any information that could help. Someone else was taken in the night.
Really? Who was taken?
Jean, the blacksmith.
That's terrible news.
It's
Do...
strange is what it is. He's a sensible sort, and he knew better than to leave his house at night. All we can really think of, and she sort of looks towards some other townspeople who are gathered around that she has been talking things over with. Well, his little girl, she's been known to sleepwalk, so if she'd gone out, he might have gone after her, but she's just fine.
Were there any signs of forced entry at his house?
No, he wasn't taken from that. Look, his daughter, she came running in the morning, said that her father was missing, and she saw him taken, and he wasn't in the house when it happened. He was already outside.
I seem to not be understanding. You said he was the sensible type and wouldn't go outside, but yet he was taken while he was outside.
That's why I said it didn't make any sense.
His daughter wasn't sleepwalking because she came running.
Well, no, she came running this morning.
I see. Have any children ever been taken?
Depends on your definition of children. I suppose Guy and Yvette, they weren't taken so much as... Well, we know where they are. Buried in the cemetery, poor dears. They were young, but I don't know that you'd call them children. Everyone seems a bit young to me.
Well, thank you. We'll see if we can get this all sorted out, and hopefully, if we get right on it, we might even be able to find the blacksmith before something worse happens to him.
Oh, for his daughter's sake, I hope you can. She's, well, they already lost her mother a couple years back, and now this.
I hope that someone in the village can take care of her in the meantime.
Oh, she's with Genevieve.
Remind me, who's Genevieve?
She's the chemist. She's got a cottage. It's right on the edge of town, pretty close to the forest. It's, well, I'm sure she'd rather be farther from it these days, but it's always been easier for her to go gathering herbs and things.
Thank you. You've been most helpful.
The Baron said to do, and if you can clear this all up, I'm sure we'd all be grateful.
Is there anything else of note that you wish to tell me?
Like what?
Well, any suspicions you may have? Anyone who seems strange lurking
Suspicions?
around?
It's wolves from hell or some such. What would I be suspicious of a person for?
Perhaps a mysterious traveler has been spending time in the tavern. Someone you've never seen before.
None of those beyond yourself and your companions, meaning no offense.
Aha! Right, of course. Well, we'll be off then. Hopefully we can solve this little mystery and put your mind at ease.
And she nods and looks somewhat confused at the child telling her they'll be off when there's just the one of her. But
And she will go look for the others of the party.
Piper will make his way into the common room to a table and sit down. He will make a pyramid out of his arms, touching the tips of his fingers together as he sits and quietly ponders a few different ideas he has. All of them probably wrong now.
and the lady who seems to be running the tavern will offer the both of you food, tea, anything you'd like while you're in there.
And he definitely takes some tea, which he lets steep and then will drink slowly.
Piper, did you catch any of our conversation?
Our conversation, I should say so. I would have been there for it.
I mean, my conversation with the barkeep.
No, that was your conversation.
Yes, I thought perhaps you had overheard. Well, I'll fill you in. It seems that someone else was attacked last night.
Within the perimeter of the town?
It would seem so.
Why are these townspeople roaming in the lack of safety of their own town? Why? Why?
Apparently, the blacksmith, the one who was taken, was a very sensible fellow who knew better than to roam about at night. Something seems to have lured him out of the house.
I assume that something is not a giant wolf.
I think most people would stay inside the house if they saw a giant wolf.
So what was it?
I don't know.
Is it the same for everyone, or is it different for each individual?
We do have a lead. the blacksmith's daughter came out in the morning when her father was missing. It's possible she knows more than she's told others, or she might not even be aware of what she knows. She may have heard strange noises, or something of the sort. Anyway, she's staying at the chemist's house towards the edge of town. We should probably check there at some point and see if we can get another account of the disappearance.
Are you still planning on going to the cemetery?
I was thinking that was a good idea, a good place to start.
I see.
Do you disagree?
No, not at all. Divide and conquer, my friend.
You want us to split up?
In the interests of time, possibly. What is our warrior friend planning on doing, do you know?
I don't even know where he is. I assume he's still in the tavern and hasn't been taken in the night, but perhaps we should look for
Why
him.
do I smell lavender?
And he will make an appearance. He will come downstairs.
Ah, there he is.
There I am. I take it we have a plan?
We have a few ideas, a few leads to follow.
You certainly smell fresher than the morning, which has a slight air of unpleasantness surrounding it. Another missing townsfolk. At this rate, the problem might fix itself.
What do you mean?
There will be nobody left.
That's not a great solution. I don't believe there would be anyone to compensate us for our work either.
I was not suggesting that this situation would get all the way back to the Vatican.
If there's no one left, I would say we would have failed our assignment.
What was the assignment?
Our assignment is to figure out about the disappearances going on here.
And figure it out we may. Figuring out is different to finding a solution.
I suppose, but I believe we're also supposed to contain it.
Ah, well, that indeed is something completely different.
I see. Well, we were just discussing where we should start and if we should split up or not. What do you think, James?
The child seems like a good lead first.
Ah, you overheard that, did you?
I did.
Alright. And do you think we should stick together for now or split up and cover more ground?
I think it's better for us to stick together, but I will not dispute somebody leaving.
I'm inclined to agree. I think that whatever is in the graveyard is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Are you going to go speak to a child?
I think so. We'll start with the child.
All right.
Barkeep, would you be able to point us in the direction of the, of the chemist's house?
Yes, miss. It's just, and she'll sort of lean over the bar and gesture off northwards. Right at the edge of the village.
Thank you. And Baba Yaga will exit the tavern, headed northwards. Alone, apparently.
Oh, he will follow. Captain James will follow you.
So, as you see the village for the first time in daylight, it is slightly larger than you may have expected, and it does seem rather prosperous. Cobblestone streets are lined with thatched houses, many of which are surrounded by flower and vegetable gardens. You do see some townsfolk out and about, although there is definitely an air of unease, which you feel could possibly be heightened by your presence. At the very edge of the village, bordering the forest itself, there is a little cottage that is surrounded by not a vegetable or flower garden, but by a large garden full of herbs. There is a very clean herbal scent wafting from it, as well as the chimney smoke, and some chickens are pecking the ground outside.
Ah, what a fine collection of herbs. I wonder if they would mind if I took a few. And after looking around quickly to see if the alchemist is around, Baba Yaga will cut off a few clippings of various herbs with a small dagger that she has.
You do not see anyone outside the cottage.
Okay. And put those herbs in her bag of magical ingredients. She'll then walk up to the door and knock.
Just a minute! And you hear steps approaching the door, and suddenly it swings open, and a woman is standing there, looking for a moment relieved, then surprised, then slightly apprehensive. Ah, sorry, I thought you were somebody else. How may I help you?
Do I look like someone else, or who are you expecting?
I was hoping it was Nicholas back with news.
Nicholas?
Nicholas, he's a hunter from here in town, and he's Jean's brother. He promised Marie that he was going to go search for some sign of her father, and I hoped he'd found some. And if you look past her, inside the cottage, you can see a small child is sitting at a table. It looks as though she and the chemist have perhaps been sorting herbs into piles. And the girl looks very solemn, and she has large, frightened looking eyes.
I represent the Order, me and my friends here, and we're investigating the disappearances that have been happening in this part of town.
Yes, the Baron said, "What do you want?"
We would like to talk to Marie, if at all possible.
Look, she's in a bit of a state as it is, and no offense, you lot don't really look like you're going to help to calm her down any.
You're right, we probably would agitate her a little. But it is important that if she heard anything or saw anything, telling us could help us find her father.
And as you say that, you hear a small set of footsteps. The child has slipped down from the chair she was sitting on and has come to peek around Genevieve's skirts out the door at you. Are you going to look for my father?
Yes, we are, child. We were wondering, when was the last time you saw him?
Last night, when he went outside.
Was the sky still bright when he went outside?
No, it was night. It was dark, she says, as though this is a very obvious thing.
Do you know why he went outside?
No.
Did you hear any strange noises outside?
There were the wolves.
Right, of course, the wolves. And did your father say anything to you before that?
He didn't say anything to me since I went to bed. And then I woke up because the door shut, and I looked out the window, and he was outside, and then there were the wolves.
Did you see the wolves?
Yes.
What did they look like?
Big. And one was so big. And they were dark. And they had big teeth.
See. And did your father seem scared of them?
Yes. He yelled when they dragged him away.
But he went outside to
Yes.
see them?
I don't know.
Was he carrying anything with him?
No.
Is there anything else you can remember? About that night or the evening before?
They dragged him away, and then the big wolf, it came right up to the window that I was looking out, and it stared at me, and it breathed and it blew all my hair. And then I hid under the bed until it was light out.
It sounds like you're a very lucky girl.
I don't think so.
Right. I suppose luck is relative. How do you like staying at the chemist's house?
Genevieve? Genevieve's nice.
That's good. And Baba Yaga will turn her attention back to Genevieve.
Is
Thank
that
you.
everything?
I believe so. Did you two have any questions?
I do not.
Did you see anything last night, Genevieve?
No, I was asleep.
Did you notice the wolves nearby?
Yes, they were howling. They do that every night.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what direction they may have dragged her father off.
And as you stand there speaking to Genevieve in the doorway, a man walks up to the cottage door and is slightly surprised to see the three of you standing there. And Marie will immediately push past Genevieve's legs that she's been hiding behind, past the three of you, run up to the man who's just appeared, and say, "Uncle Nicholas, have you found Father yet?" And he will sigh, shake his head, and say, "Not yet."
You are the hunter, yes?
Yes, I am.
I was on my way to see you. May I impress upon you temporarily of your temporal presence, sir?
He looks confused for a moment, ponders, and then almost hesitantly, because he's not quite sure what he's agreeing to, says, "Yes."
You by all accounts, are quite experienced and qualified at your work. But these wolves seem to be something entirely different. What do you make of them?
They do not behave like normal wolves, in that normal wolves would not venture into a village to drag people away. There is plenty of prey for them in the forest. There are a number that, by their tracks, could be normal wolves in stature. However, there are tracks that bother me. They are very large.
Under normal circumstances, the bipedals are not the regular prey. This is almost as if the town is being specifically targeted.
It is certainly nothing that I have ever dealt with before.
And he steps a bit closer, and of a more discreet matter. Your mayor, although he seems to want the situation resolved, he seems uncertain in many ways.
What do you mean?
He has little faith in his city guard to deal with the situation.
I don't see why he would think they could, or I could, or any of us can. This is more your expertise, we are led to believe.
Piper does a slight bow. And of a discreet nature, would you call your mistress a nervous individual?
Do you speak of Lady Elizaveta?
I do.
I would not say so.
But if she were, what would it be then that would break her otherwise porcelain exterior?
I could not say. She has barely been here a few months.
Interesting. I was under the impression that they had been married for some time.
A very recent marriage.
Do you know if she came with recommendations?
I have no knowledge of how her life was before she moved here. She met the Baron while he was traveling, and they say it was love at first sight.
Interesting. I knew a dentist once. They did say to me that there are things in life that go hand in hand, like brushing and flossing, and love and marriage. Although after the second one, when her husband had turned around, she did look back to me and shake her head. I have learned not to trust love at first sight.
He frowns a little, looks to where Genevieve is standing, and then down at his niece Marie. Genevieve, I think that Marie here looks a little bit hungry. Perhaps you could take her to the kitchen and find her something to eat. And Marie pipes up, I'm not hungry. I want to know what... And Genevieve picks her up and takes her into the kitchen and closes the door. And Nicholas will turn to the three of you and say, I don't wish to get my niece's hopes up, but I have found where it is that the wolves are staying. there is a lair in the woods. If my brother is anywhere, I believe he would be there.
How did you come across this lair?
Well, I am not unaccustomed to tracking.
I meant no disrespect to your abilities.
I have previously not been very interested in knowing where the wolves come from, as I have no way of dealing with them. Once Marie begged me to find her father, I tracked them back to their lair, which previously I had not attempted.
Could you take us there?
I could, but not until dark. During the day, it is where all the wolves sleep. I have no desire to provoke a cave full of vicious wolves. At night, they will leave and go cause whatever mayhem they are wont to cause.
Aren't you worried it will be too late by then?
I am, but it's no good to my brother, my going and getting killed by wolves too, is it?
I see. Well, we do have other things we can do until then.
Do you need anything else from me? I'll take you tonight, but I don't know. I had a look inside and I could see 8 wolves, and that's just what I could see. It looked like there were caverns going back quite a ways.
Did you see one wolf that was particularly bigger than the rest?
I didn't see it, but I know there is one by the tracks. Marie, he nods towards the house. She said one of them was about as big as the Baron's horses.
In the tracks, the big ones, they led right to the cave.
They did.
Were you able to determine if there were any tracks leaving the cave that were not wolf?
Not that I saw, but it's certainly a well-trafficked area. Their dirt in front of the cave is quite trampled down.
Fair enough. Did you have any questions, James?
No, I think you went over everything.
If you don't need anything else, I'm going to go sleep, since I've been tracking since early this morning, and I will take you there tonight. And he will enter the house and swing the door closed.
And Piper will tip his hat as he passes.
And the door has only been closed for a moment when it opens back up again, and this time Genevieve steps out, closing the door behind her. Look, I don't know anything about any of you, or if you're going to be able to do anything about this, but, well, I can tell you that Jean isn't dead.
How do you know?
I know that's how.
I am well versed in arcane arts. If you know through magical means, it is fine to tell me, and I will believe it. If you know because of intuition or gut feeling, I will not believe it.
Fine to tell you, you say. What does that mean for me here in this village?
What do you mean?
I don't know if you've noticed, child, but things outside of the ordinary are not particularly well tolerated.
Yes, well, we can keep it our little secret.
Well, either she has some of the sight, or she has been sharing her boudoir.
Look, if he was dead, his spirit would have come here to where Marie is, he would linger. He would have regrets. And he's not here.
I suppose that actually leaves two possibilities. Either he is not dead and you are correct, or he is dead and something has happened to his spirit. I suppose that's not actually very helpful for you,
I'm
nor
telling
comforting.
you, he's not dead. So if you're going to go, then bring him back to his daughter.
That was the plan. There are things that go bump in the night, and there are things that hunt them. Sometimes it may be hard to tell which from which. And he tips his hat and turns around.
And who is it that's lingering around you? She calls out after Piper.
And he looks back and he smiles. I have my demons.
And one of them's an old woman.
Yes, one of them's an old woman.
And enter her cottage. And this time, nobody opens the door again.
Well, I'd say we learned quite a bit from that little cat.
Did we?
Yes. We learned that there's a leader wolf. It is perhaps not a group of beings behind this, but one with the ability to control other wolves to do their bidding.
All wolves have a leader, they're a pack animal. However, could be a garu. Never heard of one being as large as this. Have you?
No.
And are we dealing with one garu and the rest are regular wolves? Or are they all garu? And who is the little girl? And who is the old crone?
You mean the ones you saw in your vision?
Yes, I mean the ones I saw in my vision. It was a message. I have a similar gift. That crone and that little girl are at the center of this in some way. Did you find out if the mistress of this town had any children?
I did not, but it seems as though her life before 4 months ago is somewhat of a mystery to the townsfolk. We may need to interrogate her ourselves.
Although the information may be somewhat of a dubious origination, we could possibly speak to the town gossip. A theory of conspiracies is occasionally still correct. A grain of truth and all of that.
I would still like to check out the cemetery as well.
I have no objection.
Well, where should we go first?
I would like to determine why these two people were torn apart by the wolves instead of kidnapped like this girl's father.
Why did the wolf not take the girl?
I did have a theory about that. I asked the townskeep if a child had ever been taken. The answer was no. Not a young one, at least.
You make your way to the cemetery. An old crumbling church towers over old crumbling tombs. The area is shaded by weeping willows and seems almost in perpetual twilight. Entering through the rusted gates, you notice two fresher graves that currently have no stone monuments but rough wooden markers. A bouquet of withered flowers lies between them.
And Piper will take out. Well, his walking stick is also his flute, so he will lean against a gravestone and start to play a slow melody.
James will take his hat off as a form of respect.
And Baba Yaga's gonna go look for a crime scene. Is there a grave keeper, digger?
There's a church, and someone earlier told you that there was a priest.
Okay.
Tip his hat to the grave and then walk towards the church slowly, looking around at the ground and the general area.
All right, can he make me a position check? Easy. You can have one base success if you've got no specific observational talents.
No, he doesn't. Nope.
No?
Very much nope.
Oh, wow, very much no.
He's more lost in thought about some of the other stuff to really pay attention.
Okay, wow, 3 1s.
Nope,
Oh,
he does
goodness.
not notice anything. He just continues to walk the graves, observing.
That is a success. Baba Yaga sees that one of the doors to a crypt is ajar. And she is going to push it open all the way and go inside.
Pulling the door to the crypt the rest of the way open, Baba Yaga sees that 4 men are sleeping inside. And as she opens the door, one begins to wake up, sits up on a coffin that he was lying on, and looks at her.
Hello. I have some questions if you wouldn't mind answering.
And the one who's sat up on the coffin nudges another man with his foot and says, "Hey, boss, there's a kid here wants to talk to us." And the other man stretches sort of languidly as though this sort of thing happens every day and will casually sit up on another coffin and turn to look at you.
I apologize for waking you. I was not expecting to find anyone in here. No one with flesh, that is.
Mind answering why you're disturbing my beauty rest, little one?
I'm just here doing some investigations for the Order.
And the other 2 of you are at this point aware that Baba Yaga is speaking into a crypt. You may not be able to see what she is looking at unless you go over, but she's talking to a crypt and it's talking back.
James will draw his sword and slowly enter the crypt.
Boss, there's another one. Yes, thank you. I can see that, says the more relaxed looking man. What you got your sword out for, sir? Doesn't look like it went well for you last time you had a duel. And he nods to your hook.
That was a long time ago, and it was not the fairest of fights.
Oh, put that away, James. These are nice people, I'm sure.
I was expecting more skeletal.
Yes, that's what I said.
He will put his sword away.
And the 2 who haven't said anything yet are just sort of looking at you cautiously. There are 4 men total. One is rather clearly in charge of the rest.
Would you mind telling us why you're in the crypt? Instead of, say, the inn?
Well, it's a bit of a long story. I suppose you could say we've all had some misunderstandings with the law, and perhaps we wouldn't be welcomed into the tavern with open arms. But, I thought here, crypt, it's out of the wind and rain, it's quiet, suits us just fine. And, I've already shared a bed with the Baron's wife. I didn't think he'd mind if I shared one with his mother. And he taps the coffin that he's sitting on.
I see you are sensible folk, willing to make use of your surroundings.
What is it that you want?
Well, I was wondering if you knew anything about the murder that happened here about a month ago.
Nothing. I wasn't here a month ago.
Were you sleeping up in the...
No, I was at home, not in this godforsaken country.
Ah, and where are you from?
Valinia, same as the lady up there.
And you had relations with her back in
Oh,
Valania?
Elizaveta and I are well acquainted.
And what is your name, if you don't mind me asking?
I do mind. I don't know the least bit about any of you. For all I know, you're gonna go off and tell the guard.
Promise we won't tell the guard, but we have some questions for Elizabetha as well.
Then go ask her.
Yes, but our questions are not ones that she would likely want to answer. If
What's
we
that got to
knew...
do with me?
Well, if you had relations with her, that could be a bit of leverage we could use to get some information out of her. If we knew your name, simply telling her your name should be enough to get the information we need.
Look, I'm not interested in being part of your little blackmail scheme. I just want to finish my nap and take my very well and truly earned belongings and be on my way.
Fair enough. I suppose that we won't alert the guards. And we'll just be on our way.
All right, well, since apparently you've decided you need no further information, he will lay back down on the coffin.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Then Baba Yaga will leave. I don't know what's going on with them. I think they're bandits?
Truthfully, this does not really concern me. I don't have loyalty to this town, I only have loyalty to completing the mission.
Yeah, but it does give us some information if he's telling the truth about having relations with Elizaveta. It's possible that the child that was in Piper's vision could have been his.
But what does that mean?
I don't know.
What were you doing?
There were some bandits hiding out in the crypt over there.
Oh.
One of
Cut
them
purses in the night. And what did you learn from them?
seems to know Elizaveta.
Indeed.
On quite the personal level.
They had relations.
His stretching of the truth could be considerable. However, we already do have some concerns as to the integrity of the lady.
I tried giving him a thinly veiled threat that I'd tell the guards where he is if he didn't reveal some information to us, but he did not seem to consider me much of a threat.
So it was more thin than threat.
I
We
suppose.
can make it a threat. Just have to go back.
And Piper will walk not in there, but close enough that they could definitely hear the flute. And he will tip his hat to the gravestone. My apologies, he says to the grave, and then hops up and sits on top of the gravestone and crosses his legs and takes his pipe, his flute. And I will spend the soma. And he starts to play a extremely mournful and sad and longing song from the Balkans that he learned many moons previous. And he is trying to instill in these ruffians a sense of utter despair.
And as he begins, hey, I thought we said we were sleeping in here. But then as the tune continues, you believe you can make out muffled sobs coming from within. They are in despair.
He will look to James and Baby Yaga. The effect lasts for a while, but it is not without measure. Ask your questions. Lead possibly towards hope, if they answer truthfully. If you take my meaning.
I gave it a shot already. Perhaps you or James would like to give it a go.
I have just set the playing field. I have set the stage. I have brought you an audience. I have performed. What more can I do for you?
I was just about to say James will enter the crypt.
And he will find 4 bandits sobbing in complete despair.
I do not wish to have to return with guards next time. You are very active during the night, is what you said?
What? I don't understand what is going on.
We have had a case of disappearances.
I don't know anything about any disappearances.
Have you seen any wolves? Have you heard any wolves?
I've heard wolves at night, but I don't know anything.
Which Piper will walk in and he will push one of the lesser ruffians with his flute, which is more like a cane. It's quite long, so he pushes him out of the way and he goes up to... Unless he can't tell. Can you tell which one is the boss?
Probably.
He will go up to him and he will fold his hands over the top of his cane and he will look down at him. You have one chance, and one chance only, of avoiding an unpleasant fate. But this you can do by answering truthfully. I want to know all about the fair lady of this town. One that you apparently are intimate with. I think, and he taps the side of the tomb, we can leave out you sharing a bed with the mother, yes? I'm sure that will not go down quite so well.
In case it wasn't clear, the GM would like to say he meant right now when she's dead. He's sleeping on her coffin. Okay, great.
Piper is aware.
Okay.
So he
And
taps his cane heavily on the stone floor. Talk.
he manages to pull himself together and wipes tears from his eyes, looking up at Piper with not a small amount of fear, and slightly sniffing, he replies, Elizaveta and I were intimate when she was still in Volhynia, and she was, well, she liked to think of herself as a member of high society. She wasn't exactly. She entertained a lot of noble young men, but she wasn't exactly the sort you'd bring home. She was tossed out from that lifestyle entirely when she became with child. And it wasn't until recently that, well, she met the Baron here. And I don't think he ever knew about her child because, well, poor little Iskra, she died.
How? Where? When?
Not long before Yelizaveta and the Baron were married. I only heard she was lost in the woods. She never came back. Yelizaveta's mother, Iskra's grandmother, she died of a broken heart. She'd been more of a caretaker to the girl than Yelizaveta ever was.
You know where the grandmother is buried?
Back in Volhynia.
Do you know who the father was?
No, there was some speculation among those in the city we lived in, but she fell from grace and no more was ever said of it.
And you're sure the Iskra is not yours?
I am certain.
Those are all my questions. Piper?
Do you know how she came into contact with the Baron?
He was traveling, they met, he knew nothing of her past. That is all I heard. It seems to be somewhat of a second chance for her to have the sort of life she wanted. Money, comfort.
You see? You can make a good decision when you try. The guards will come at nightfall. They will have a noose. Do not be here.
He nods and rather inelegantly wipes his tear-streaked face, and he gathers up the other three men and a couple bags of what you assume are ill-gotten goods, and they flee.
And Piper tips his hat to them. Farewell.
They do not look back.
Very well done, Piper.
Well executed, Baba Yaga says, who is listening outside the door.
The GM's just happy you learned something.
So, putting some of the pieces together,
I have a suspicion.
as do I. Shall we say it at the same time?
Are you a child? I do not understand where the vision came from, though.
Perhaps it has to do with your sight, or whatever you call it.
More to the point, it's directed. Someone sent it to me. I didn't stumble upon it. It wasn't a random incident. It is possible that I saw the child and the grandmother. I would have put it down that it was the grandmother, but if she's dead,
Is that really a limiting factor for your sight? Her being dead and all?
but it poses questions. If it was the grandmother, and she is dead, and she is buried back in her hometown, what and how could she be here, even in spirit form? The spirits don't roam far from... Or is she not dead? We only had his word to go for it. He may have been a capable bandit, but mortal he still was. And the girl. There was no body. I could be complicating this incredibly. Considered that the girl originally was the Garu, but it is the size of a horse, unless there is exaggeration, then I find that difficult to comprehend. They don't normally change size that much. At least, not the Garu that I know.
It may not be a Guru as you know it. Iskra may not be dead. The bandit said that she was lost in the woods.
Which is exactly why I feel that there is a possibility that her demise is somewhat premature.
It would explain, if Iskra was the wolf, why the wolf did not go after the children of the village. However,
We will need to be discreet when we deal with Milady. However, here we are, and there the church be. It was on our list of residences to enter. Shall we?
yes, I am thinking perhaps we don't need to be discreet with the lady. So we could just say, tell us how you lost Iskra in the woods. And she might be so stunned that she just tells us the truth.
Or she will deny everything. If you do this in front of the Baron, there is no point making enemies when we do not need to.
True, it would have to be when she's alone. Knowing the name of her child and the method of which she was lost should be enough to convince her that we know more than we are even telling her.
I am not saying that we should not tighten the screws. Merely, if we show her some discretion, she may understand the predicament that she is in and aid us without creating an enemy.
Fine by me. Don't know if they will welcome me in this church, but we shall see.
I am surprised, James, that you did not take your rod of steel and teach those ruffians a lesson until they talked.
As you said, there is no point to making enemies. You just need to complete the mission.
As you say, and stride up to the church and open the doors.
The outside of the church is very run down. The stone is crumbling. The windows are very dusty. Inside, it actually appears much nicer, and you can tell that someone has made a great deal of effort to keep it that way. It is lit with many candles. There is a fabric runner down the aisle to prevent the stone floor from getting any dustier. There are pews that are lined with fabric as well. And standing up at the front near the altar, there is a man. And he turns as the doors are flung open.
And he shall make the sign of the cross. A little bit exaggerated.
The priest walks towards you with sort of a half a smile, and he will nod to the three of you. Welcome to this church. May I help you three?
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, but unfortunately,
He nods slowly. I see. I imagine you came for more than this declaration, however.
I find your aesthetics externally to be an interesting choice when I see the interior. Do you get
Yes.
many visitors?
We do not. I have been unable to, shall we say, completely renovate. I have done my best with what I can effect change on, and I merely wish this to be a pleasant place for anyone who does choose to come.
Of course. And he will go and sit in one of the pews. We have been sent. The situation with your canine friends has been of some considerable consternation.
Were you here a month ago when those people were attacked?
No, I was with you.
Not you.
I have lived in this village my whole life.
Are you a priest's son? Is it a line that has gone back?
Ah, no, it is. That isn't exactly how it works. He sort of smiles. I am a member of the Catholic Church, and priests do not have sons, or daughters, or any children.
How did you end up being from this town and in this church?
The previous priest here passed away, and I felt it was my calling.
And they just said,
Well,
fine.
no, of course I had to study and I had to be certified by look. We are a small village, but there are still ways to go about things.
What is it that you know about the wolves, the dead, the missing? You're meant to have your hand on the spiritual pulse of the village, yes?
There is something very wrong here. This is, well, shall we say I have my finger on a different sort of spiritual pulse?
Please elaborate.
Well, I would never venture to question His Holiness, and I understand that your order produces very good results. Whatever it is that you do and are involved with is foreign to me. It is not the sort of spiritual that I am familiar with.
You are familiar with the people of this town. You are familiar, I assume, with the missing and the dead.
With them? Yes. The village is in a state of fear. Only two bodies have been found, and they are buried in the cemetery. They were the first victims. Everyone else since has simply gone missing, but, well, they are presumed dead.
And the two that are dead, who were they?
They were a young couple from the village. His name was Guy, and hers was Yvette. I am told they used to meet in the cemetery at night, in secret. They were found. Well, it was the hunter Nicholas who found them, and I buried them.
Why was it a requirement for them to hide their relationship?
That I do not know. I am aware of no barrier to their relationship, but they were young, and the young can sometimes be dramatic. Perhaps it amused them to pretend they needed to sneak around. I could not say.
Were the parents of anyone of importance? Any dark secrets you are aware of?
Not that I am aware of, no. His family runs the bakery in town, and hers, well, her mother sometimes works at the tavern, and her father's a butcher.
But takes a coin and flicks it into the air, catches it, looks at it. Bakers.
He follows the coin with his eyes and looks a bit confused.
Have you seen any discernible pattern between the missing and the dead, other than obviously coming from this village? They are not all bakers, I assume.
No. I have noticed nothing, and truth be told, merely assumed it to be anyone so unlucky or unwise as to be out after dark.
How old were the lovers?
They were young, not yet 20, 16, 17, perhaps.
There had been some speculation that the beasts were not taking children.
I suppose they have not, but I also generally find that children are in bed asleep at night.
Not all of them. And one has come into close proximity with the beast. It did not take her. That is
strange.
concerning. Not that the child was not taken, but that the child was not taken.
If you seek to imply some sort of moral quandary on the part of the wolves, that is not something I have ever known beasts to possess.
I believe you said so yourself, that these were no ordinary beasts.
They are not ordinary, certainly, but I have seen nothing to suggest they possess any sort of a moral compass.
Have you seen anything of them?
No. I have been careful not to step outside at night.
So you've seen nothing worth writing home about, so therefore it's not worth writing home about.
Were I to write home about it, I would receive the letter myself.
Is that why the children have not been taken? Because it would be a reflection upon thyself.
I'm afraid I do not follow.
Thank
Perhaps
you
I
for
should
your
say-
time. And Piper will get up and put his hat on.
And if you are leaving, he will nod to the three of you and say, well, I may not understand nor possibly agree with your methods. I wish you well.
Child leaves, following the piper.
James also leaves.
As you leave through the cemetery gate, you see a small boy who was not there before. He is sitting on the ground, leaning against the fence, and he is stacking up sticks and then throwing a stone at them, trying to knock them over.
No, Papa Yaga will go up to the boy. Hello there. What is it you're trying to do?
I'm not doing anything, and I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Oh, why not?
My mother says not to.
Not to talk to me?
Not any of you. And he nods to the group as a whole.
Why is that?
Because you're. I don't know. She said not to.
'Cause we're what, child?
I don't know! She said not to.
Well, certainly wouldn't want to go against your mother's wishes. But we are trying to solve a mystery. Would you like to help us solve a mystery?
Help you how?
Well, you know those wolves you've been hearing at night?
Mm.
We're trying to figure out what they're doing. Why they're taking people.
Because they're wolves, and they eat people.
Most wolves actually don't eat people. These ones are kind of strange.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you know anything about the wolves? Have you seen them?
No, I haven't seen any wolves. Even if I had seen wolves, no one would believe me, because no one believes anything I say.
I would believe you. Is there something that people aren't believing you about?
I saw a girl drinking the water at the Oaks Glade, and no one believes me.
I believe you.
And he looks up at the Piper. Why?
Because I think I saw her too. Drinking at a glade. Hair like midnight, and eyes like the sky.
I didn't see her eyes. She had something on her face.
Interesting.
She had black hair, though. I don't know her. She doesn't live here. That's probably why no one believes me. But they also say that I'm too young and I tell tales.
But you have no reason to lie to us.
No. I wasn't really supposed to be at the Oaks Glade either.
The Oaks Glade.
What's the Oaks Glade? You don't know?
New in town.
It's just about, and he points sort of off into the woods past the cemetery. It's just about half an hour that way. It's, well, it's a bit of the woods with a pool, and it's a lot greener than anywhere else. But it's strange, and no one's supposed to go there. My mother says that's where witches do their magic.
Fascinating. Are you scared of witches?
I don't think so. I've never met one.
Actually, you have.
What you mean?
And Baba Yaga will pull out some of her sparkle powder that she has and flash it up towards the child where it will sparkle and disappear.
Is that what witches do? I'm not scared of you. You're just a girl. You're not that much bigger than Marie. But could you teach me?
Perhaps if you could show us where the Oaks Glade is, I could teach you a trick or two.
I'm not supposed to go there. I already told you it's that way.
I think we can ask Nicholas, yes? He would be
That's
aware.
You know
true.
Nicholas.
Yes, we go way back.
And Piper will go up, and he will snap his hand, and a coin will appear, and he will give it to the kid.
So you're a witch too?
No.
Huh.
But I can do magic.
And he'll take the coin.
You've been most helpful.
That's good for not ever talking to you at all, because I'm not supposed to.
Don't worry.
And he tips his hat. I never saw you, and we were not here.
And he laughs a little bit.
We don't even know your name.
It's Marcel, but you're right, you don't know it.
And Piper will turn and walk out of the graveyard.
James will follow.
And Baba Yaga will follow as well.
I have a suspicion.
Yes.
Milady's daughter is not dead. I have a concern. Barely an inconvenience.
Different from your suspicion.
Yes.
Speak your mind.
Garu is fast of mouth, but sometimes short on thought. His discussions on how to deal with Garu is unreliable. How exactly are we going to deal with Wolf and Garu if it comes to tooth and claw?
I am confident in my magical ability. I am less confident in your mortal weapons.
So there is no plan.
You've never lost a duel twice.
You'll only need to lose it once, my friend, for it to have catastrophic events.
I was saying that in reference to his hook of a hand.
It is early enough in the day. We can possibly speak to Milady. And the girl has been at the glade during the day. I don't know about the night. It possibly would make sense to go to the glade during the day. If the child can find it, so can we.
I agree.
So, glade or to the manor born?
Let's head to the manor. I have some questions that I think need answering.
All right, you're heading back to the manor,
We are.
and it's now probably around lunchtime. So a servant will show you into the dining room where the Baron and his lady are sitting and having a meal.
Evening, Baron, Baroness.
Evening, it's noon. What is it you want?
We wanted to talk to you. We have a couple more questions.
We told you everything we know last night. So, do you have any developments to share, or are you simply wasting time?
We have a few developments. We would like to speak with Elizaveta alone.
I am certainly happy to speak with you, although I don't know of anything that I could do to help.
Maybe, maybe not.
Well, we do.
She will look back to her husband and say, I'm sorry, my dear. Would you, I suppose, leave us be for a moment? And he sighs and says, Fine. And he will leave and direct a servant to bring his plate to his study.
We appreciate it.
Have you found anything that could help you to deal with this horrible situation?
Possibly. Always in motion is the future.
I suppose it is.
But you need to tell us the truth and the full truth.
I'm afraid
We want to know about Iskra.
And her eyes widen for a moment, and then she looks down at the table in front of her and says, I'm afraid there's nothing to say about Iskra. She is no longer with us.
Are you sure?
I don't know what you are suggesting. Of course I am sure.
How can you be? She disappeared into the woods, didn't she?
Into woods full of wolves and other dangers that... Look, she was very fond of my mother, and she insisted on visiting her and bringing her some little cakes she had made, and I'd warned her she shouldn't go alone, but she wouldn't wait for me, and, well, she never made it to her grandmother's house.
The child is not a monster. Do you know what that could mean?
No.
And Iskra had dark hair,
Yes. And
eyes like a glacier.
yes, she looked very similar to me.
She has been sighted possibly twice at the Glade, not 30 minutes from here.
That is impossible. Iskra is dead.
Did you take her into the woods yourself?
Did I take... What do you mean, I told you? She went to visit her grandmother. I told her to wait, and she would not.
And she never arrived. But that
No.
doesn't mean that she is dead.
Even if she had survived, she would not be here. She would be near our home.
But your mother was dead.
Yes, she died not long after. Her heart was broken.
If she is still alive, would she blame you for abandoning her? For not continuing to search for her?
Iskra, I do not want to deal in your hypotheticals. I do not know what she would do if she were alive, but she is not.
We did meet one of your previous companions, a traveller, who had some interesting tales before you met the Baron here. We are trying to show you a level of discretion by talking to you privately without him, in case he does not know everything. This is not a threat, it is merely a statement of fact.
I appreciate that, but I have told you everything that I know. My husband does not know what my life was like before we married, and he does not know about Iskra.
We assumed as much. Why we are here, having this pleasant conversation rather than a much more unpleasant one.
My old life is over. Iskra is gone, and no amount of saying I should have done anything differently will bring her back. She would not wait for me. I could not make her. What would you have me do?
It might not be so much as what I would make you do, but if she is not completely gone, it might be what she wanted you to do.
I have something that you should do. Come to the glade with us.
No. I am not leaving this manor until the horrible creatures out there are dealt with.
They don't come out during the day.
Be that as it may, I will stay here.
Why are you trying to remove Iskra from your life?
Iskra is gone from my life already.
Not completely.
I don't know what you mean.
Baba Yaga will pull out the locket.
And she looks confused for a moment, and then laughs. I don't know what you imagine that has to do with Iskra. I found that in my room, and I had Anne get rid of it. I was worried my husband would see it and think it was from some bumpkin admirer.
So then how did you get the locket, if it was not from some admirer?
I told you, I found it in my bedroom. I do not know who it is from. It could be from some admirer, for all I know. I simply wished to avoid an awkward discussion with my husband.
The locket looks like it was made by a child.
It looks like it was made by someone with no skill. That is for certain.
Fine. I suppose we can take you at your word from now.
Are you finished with this conversation? It has been rather a waste of time, I feel, and brought you no closer to dealing with the wolves. I'd like to remind you that that is the issue this village is facing, not my past.
The two may be connected. We'll see.
It is possible that your daughter survived.
Iskra is dead.
So you say. Unless you killed her yourself, I don't see how you could know that.
How could you possibly suggest such a thing?
Why did you get so defensive?
Any mother would at the implication.
There was no implication.
There was a little bit of implication.
I know what you have said, but she has not.
I am finished with this conversation. I wish to finish my meal in peace.
We will grant that to you. And James will start walking away.
We may have more questions later. If we find out that anything you've said here is anything but the truth,
I have nothing to say to your threats. I wish to be left alone.
And Baba Yaga will leave.
I do not believe she told us the full truth.
Nor do I.
She did not like it when you brought up the idea of her killing her own daughter.
Before we leave the mansion, I would like to set up a magic spell that will let me watch the door here in case she tries to flee. A ragdoll
Okay.
that I will put in a tree facing the door.
Oh, facing the door of the mansion?
Yeah.
Very well. That'll be 2 soma.
Okay. I will spend 2 soma to do that.
And it just lets you know if she leaves the house.
Yep.
Does everyone wish to head to the Oaks Glade?
Yes.
After you have walked the forest for about half an hour, you come across an area that seems somehow greener and more alive. Oak trees overhang a crystal clear pool, occasionally dropping leaves that flutter gently to its mossy banks or send small ripples over its otherwise still surface. There is a strange feeling in the air, and I will send Baba Yaga a message because she knows magic.
I feel we must be quick in this glade. This place is pulling energy from living things to feed itself, including us. Each hour we spend here will take up some of our energy.
I was hoping not to spend such a period of time here.
I as well. And I'm telling you, if we did, we might not return to the village.
Piper nods and then observes as best he can.
All right.
He's
Piper's
looking for
observing.
anything.
Anyone else doing anything?
Then Baba Yaga is going to the pool of water.
I'm sorry. Piper has failed, apparently.
I've rolled crap tonight.
I'm so sorry.
I would like to sense magical energy from the water and see if I can divine its effects without actually drinking it.
It definitely has a sort of magical energy to it, just the same as the whole glade does. You get the sense that if you took some of it, you could probably make use of it for your magic, but if you drank it, it wouldn't do any particular thing to you.
James will also observe the foresty clearing we're in. I didn't fully understand.
While James and the Piper are sort of scanning the area and Baba Yaga is contemplating the pool of water, suddenly, from behind the group, you hear a crack, like a twig snapping.
James will draw his sword. At his best, you make yourself known.
All right. Anyone who has turned to see what caused the noise may be confused for a moment about what they are seeing. There is a very strange looking face in the bushes, but then you realize that the reason it looks so strange is because it isn't a face. It's a mask, a very roughly carved wooden mask. And almost as soon as you've had that realization, it disappears and you hear small footsteps running away.
James will chase.
You can give chase, but whatever you are chasing is quicker than you and better at hiding because after you run through the woods for a little while, you have found nothing.
I believe that was another confirmed site of Iskra.
Perhaps that locket was from Iskra, and she just did not know it.
I hadn't considered that. Perhaps Elizaveta wasn't lying. She just didn't know it was from her. And Baba Yaga will go back to the pool of water and scoop up a bunch of it. First in her hands, then she will pick up a vial of the water, and she'll also drink some of it.
It's very refreshing.
Can I tell how deep the pool is?
It's not that deep. You can see the bottom.
Is the bottom dirt?
Yeah, dirt, some stones, some pond plants. The water is very clear. It's probably fed by some sort of underground spring because you don't see any rivers leading to it. But the water is fresh.
Then Baba Yaga will look around the rest of the clearing.
Anyone who is having a look around can see there are wolf footprints in the glade. There are also in places small human footprints. In one area over in some bushes, you can find some bones. They do not appear to be human, but they could be an animal eaten by a wolf or something else.
I suggest we leave before our energy is taken from us.
I agree.
James,
I agree. Shall lead the way.
let us head back to the inn, prepare for nightfall.
As you leave, you have the sense that someone is watching you, but anytime you turn to look back, there's no one there. Does anyone have anything they wish to do, or are you, as Baba Yaga suggested, simply waiting for nightfall?
No, I don't have anything else I can think of right now.
And eventually, evening falls and it begins to darken outside.
The Broken Tales RPG is released by the World Anvil Publishing, starring Ghost as Piper, SPG as James Henry Hook, Shadow as Baby Yaga, Emily is the Storyteller. Sounds and music by Syrinscape.com and Epidemicsound. You can find us at critfail.com. I have a suspicion.
Yes?
Milady's daughter is not dead. I have a suspicion. Milady's daughter is dead.
That wasn't me!
I didn't know that picked up. Okay.
It did.
Very well. Lead on, Baby Yoda.
It's Grogu.